Okay, so last week we covered twins being bullied off of YouTube because of this fandom. Now we're going to do more of a tribute, honoring basically what she did and her lasting impact on YouTube and me and everybody else.
Yeah, hopefully this will be a little bit more positive than last time. And not that the fandom doesn't deserve some of our ire, but in this case, we'd like to focus more on her craft specifically than the fandom and the controversy.
Exactly. So in this video, we won't really be talking about the fandom. We'll mostly be talking about her. And from what she said, or I'm going off of what she said, she announced that she was leaving or not leaving. Nope, I'm sorry, getting it all mixed up already. She started in volume 4. That's according to one of the podcasts I listened to.
Yeah, that's
And
where her first review was posted. Her very first video was Volume 4, Chapter 1 review.
right, and then obviously she just released it as the show came out, or mostly. She has stated that she doesn't use first membership, so it wasn't as fluent as like the reactors, but she was still doing her best pretty much.
Yeah. And she got into it with her sister, and that's basically how I found her channel through Judgmental Critters, through hearing Twins Inc. on her podcast. Because their podcast is the twin sisters and twins roommate Allison RU. And they talk about RWBY, their various thoughts on it, and it's very entertaining stuff. They work off each other quite well.
That's actually funny. I found Judgmental through twins. That's funny.
Well, just means there's a lot of cross promotion, which I'm sure we'll agree with.
Yes. Well, I mean
Mm.
they are sisters. I'm pretty sure. I can definitely say if my brother had a YouTube channel, I'd be promoting his as well.
And from her reviews, Twins branched out to a lot of discussion videos. She wanted to talk about the fights and the choreography. She wanted to talk about the characters' weaknesses in the case of characters like Yang and her PTSD. She wanted to talk about depictions of these characters and how it relates to real world problems. She would discuss things like motivation, relationships, all those little nuances and details that the show, let's be honest, sometimes struggles with.
One of her videos that isn't a review that I frequently watch is her color analysis,
Yeah, absolutely.
because not to uh, I know a lot of people pull this card, but back when Monty was doing it, there was like each character had like a defining color, and that's kind of been lost in the later volumes. Which
Yeah,
I don't like pulling that card because it's like it's one of
yeah,
those like it's
yeah. We
not
try
how
not to.
humans done it.
We don't want to try and bring up Monty on this too much. Just
Yeah,
that she's pointing out something in the show that it has become more washed out and colorless, and sometimes it doesn't feel as lively as it used to. And I think even diehard fans of the show will say that it isn't as colorful as it used to be.
hmm. Like volume 7 and 8, I can understand because in the Ruby canon, Atlas pretty much shut down all expressionism. So
Yeah,
like volume 7 and 8, I can understand, but 5 and 6, when they were still in like Mistral, where they're still like free, I'm pretty sure in canon that Mistral is supposed to be like one of the, I want to say freest. I don't even think freest is a word.
well, according to the World of Remnant segments, for whatever that's worth these days, Mistral is supposed to be a hotbed of criminal activity, so you'd think there'd be more color. And we do get some colorful characters like Little Miss Malachite. And we have that opening segment where they use just an anime background to depict a lot of different characters and, borrow from Avatar pretty liberally, but that's never expanded upon. So if they weren't going to make a 3D model of it, is the character really relevant? But I digress. Returning to the topic of twins.
Right. One of the big reasons why I follow her is because she's pretty much voiced my objections with the show. Like me and my brother gave up on the show, but I would show him her reviews, and he agreed because she was basically saying all of our objections. Like
I
all the servers and people I follow, they they were just praising the show. I was like, but why? Like, do you not see what's like clearly wrong with it? And she would point out like things that were wrong with it. But she did balance it out there with praise, which is something that a lot of people don't do. They like to go one way or the other. They just
yeah.
hate on it or they just overly praise it.
Well, to be fair, when you hate on something, you tend to get a lot more views. So, like, Twins does occasionally create top 10 lists, being a fan of old school YouTube as she is.
Mhm.
And, like, her top 10 best design video had a good number of views. Her top 10 worst design video has twice as many views as that. So, sometimes the internet will consume what it wants to. But going back to her reviews and, echoing some of my sentiments, yeah, I completely agree. Her Volume 6 reviews, she really, really went off on the Pyrrha statue, and I was right there with her because that was a plot point in canon I was pretty strongly opposed to.
Yeah.
Just and then later in Volume 6, when she has her brief rant about Blake, I just could not have agreed more with what she was saying. Blake is a character that I've struggled with writing in recent months and years just because I don't like her character the way I used to. I feel that she has just become very difficult to relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And Twins neatly summarized that quite well. In a combination of making some very strong and valid points and having a very entertaining rant. And it's very rare to find someone whose criticism is both insightful and entertaining.
Mm. Now, like I'm I love Pyrrha, obviously.
Yeah.
And like if you follow any of my social media or any of my stories, you know that I put her front and center. But I was totally with her on the statue and on the video in volume 4. The video is not that bad, but the statue just pushed it over the limit. Like I would enjoy seeing her back if it made sense and not just to pander to some audience or to like manipulate us like with Penny, like just to like have a scene that pulls on your heartstrings. Like if it makes sense, yes, but if they're just doing it like for a cheap moment, yeah, I was right there with her. It's like,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it's really unfortunate because this should have been a good emotional moment for John, but because of the way it was handled with mysterious red haired woman. The red haired woman character is a bit of a source of controversy because if they had just simply called her like Pyrrha's mother, I think that no one would have any issue with it at all.
mm.
But
But my biggest issue with it is that it's Jean. We
yeah,
never get to see Ren and Nora's reaction or anything to it. Like if it was the statue, but if it was Nora or Ren, then I would feel a lot different about it because Jean has had his moment with dealing with her death, but we haven't seen them cope with it or
yeah,
anything.
I agree with that. And I feel like it's an unfortunate fact with John always getting the spotlight here. We never find out how Ren and Pyrrha feel about her death,
Nora.
yeah, Ren and Nora, sorry. And as a result, we don't gain insight into our character that we really should. You see a lot of fanfics who will deal with this, will have Ren and Nora react to it and have a feeling about their friend dying.
Mm-hmm.
In canon, it sort of makes sense why we don't hear from Nora because she's actively focused on everyone else's problems rather than her own, at least until we get to Volume 7 and Volume 8.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ren's case, I think we're meant to feel that he's just bottling it up. So there is some contextual reason for it, but it's lost because we don't really expand on them enough. And that is something that she points out in her reviews too, that a lot of the characters don't develop in a way that they should. And when she talks about who the protagonist of the show really is, she's left wanting because sometimes it bounces around between a character who isn't A, a member of Team Ruby, or B, one of their followers, like Oscar or Juniper. And more often than not, the show's protagonist seems to be one of the adults, like Crow or Ironwood, which is really, really unfortunate that they're the ones who get the lion's share of development.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Nora, like there was a comic where, like it was a fan comic where Ruby is like giving John a hug and he's asking her like, "How do you do this?" And then it immediately takes a left turn where she says, "I'm lying to everybody." It's just like, well, I mean, I obviously don't have it like I obviously have a scene like that, but I feel like it was undercut with the left turn that it made. It's like if Ruby like was putting on a facade because she's the leader, like that would have been enjoyable. But what we have is just like nope, she's just like this all the time.
Fair enough.
Emily, I don't, pretty sure that wasn't in one of her reviews, but she does say a lot how the title characters aren't the actual characters. They're
Yeah,
just
she discusses this in her motivation video and her video about who actually is the protagonist of the show. That this show really, for the last two volumes, has been about Ironwood and Penny and their arc. And before that, the show was arguably more about Oscar, and but his most important character development would happen off screen for some reason. So she had a lot of thoughts on that. She has a lot of thoughts on Oscar in general because he is one of her favorites. It's just that the show itself always seems to miss the mark with him.
yes, like I remember this episode where they come home and he's there and he's suddenly okay with everything.
Got a new outfit. He's fine.
And yep, new outfit. That means he's fine. And we don't even see that. Like we don't even see him shopping for the outfit. Like, or even if he made it. Like, why?
I guess we had to focus on that Pyrrha statue.
Apparently,
Yeah.
we just have to go through another Jean moment, and once again, and even as a Pyrrha stan, like I don't even know if that's the right word. I don't care.
I mean, fair enough.
But yeah, even as someone who loves Pyrrha and wants her to come back, I'm getting a little sick of this. Like this is clearly just emotional manipulation, and you're not really adding anything. Like you're just rinse and repeating. Like Jean is sad over Pyrrha, Volume 4. Now he's sad in Volume 5. Now he's sad in Volume 6. Like enough.
Yeah, we get it. But even though she is very critical of the show, she was also very much a fan of it. She wanted to talk about a lot of its ancillary material. She wanted to create her own Ruby content. Like, she would discuss the 2015 Shiro Mio spin-off manga, went into detail about some of the fairy tale origins and inspiration for the characters, and she would make her own OCs, like hypothetical Ruby children, Quill Bronwyn, the daughter of Ty and Crow. It was very clear that she was still having fun with the show, even though the fandom itself was wearing her down.
Oh yes, I remember that. Her twin or her critter and Allison, they're on Twitter. They were doing that, and I submitted a commission that I had done of Blake's daughter into that. Yes, I've seen that. I don't I don't recall if it was supposed to be made in like her style, like if they were supposed to be like copying her style because she obviously did that. But
Well,
I
all
had
three of them.
commissioned this before this was even a thing, so I just like I've had this for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, all three of them have very different styles. So, all the children look quite distinct.
Yes.
And it really is probably the thing I'm going to miss the most about her upcoming content, because I really do like when she does original Ruby stuff. I think I've liked all of her videos, like her drawn out pilot when she goes into the Malachite twins, the character designs that she herself has come up with, and any lists she creates when she talks about Ruby. I just like when she goes into that.
Mhm.
I'm glad she's making her own original stuff now and is going to have more fun doing that. I expect. It's just, I am a fan of Ruby, and even though I'm trying on occasion to extricate myself from the show, I do still enjoy seeing videos about it because I run the gamut. I watch everything. I watch Murder of Birds, I watch Calixin, I watch Fat Man Falling and Vexed Viewer, and I watch people in the middle of those extremes because I want to see Ruby content. I want to see fans who are enthusiastic about the show as she used to be.
I watch more of the uh, not it's not really lore because they don't really have an established well whatever is established is pretty much crap. But I watch more like theory videos and like trying to branch out like Eruption Fang.
Mm-hmm. Eruption Fang's fun too.
Yeah. But he's not really but he's more um like asking questions about the world and everything versus more like I'm steered away from the reactors mainly because of what has long before this even happened they were already being toxic and pretty much on their knees for Rooster Teeth. So it's just like
Like I
if you're
said,
not going to have an honest opinion that you know used to have, I'm going away.
I mean, I like to see enthusiasm, which is something that you will get from Murder of Birds and Calixin.
Well,
And
it's not. I'm sorry.
I also like to see, criticism. Like one of my favorite ways to watch Ruby is to watch the show, then go back and watch Fat Man Falling and his crew react to an episode where they just brutally savage it like an MST3K. And then go and watch Calixin and Murder of Birds reaction again, days or weeks after the fact. And they provide this wonderful contrast of different opinions. Now, you can argue about whether or not they're putting on a show and, avoiding criticizing it. That's fair. But for me, I just like to see a diversity of thought.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't mind enthusiasm. I like enthusiasm as long as it's genuine. But like, I watch Murder and he's like yelling and screaming about these moments, and she's like, okay, I understand being hype about something. Like when the Space Jam 2 trailer came out, like I was smiling and yelling at that trailer because it's Space Jam. But at the same, it's just like when it's something like this in Ruby where you can like tell what's about to happen like 10 minutes before it does, or even years before it does. And it's like, I don't think like that it's real. Or like when he's having his full on waterworks about Penny's death, it's, it's
Yeah.
just like, how did you not see this coming? Like,
Well,
how did.
to be fair, a lot of people didn't actually think that they would go through with that because it would be a permanent death for her. They didn't think that Rooster Teeth would pull through that emotional heartstrings. I mean, even Twins herself on one of Critter's podcasts speculated that they wouldn't do it that way, though obviously that didn't quite go to plan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the most recent one that I
Well,
listened
on her
to, she
on the,
said that she called it that they were going to do it just to see if
well, I
they
think
can make him cry.
she makes the quote specifically in her "It's Time to Say Goodbye" video for Ruby, where
Uh-huh.
she
Well,
talks about
that was from clips from the
yeah,
podcast, though.
yeah, but she's specifically stating that she didn't think that they would do it that way, and then if you read through the context of what she says, it basically plays out exactly the way she hoped it wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, okay. It's really unfortunate that you called it, but at the same time, really didn't want it to happen that way.
Oh, then I misheard. Well, yeah, no, I just misheard.
But yeah, the podcasts are something that we're not going to miss because she's still going to do that with her sister. And just, I do wonder what they're going to talk about, if not Ruby, if she's not watching the show. I guess she'll be the outside looking in, kind of alternate perspective on it.
Hmm.
But I mean, her roommate Allison was going to drop the show and got back into it because of the apathy in Volume 6 and the horror elements. So
Hmm.
hopefully there's something that keeps her attached to it.
Yeah, it was like they are very they're very like coin oriented. Like Critter likes the show, but Twins is critical of it. Or that's the way I saw it for a long time until the end of Volume 8, where both of them were very critical on the show. I was like, oh,
Oh yeah, Critter's optimism is eternal. Like in one of her reviews of Volume 8, she's like, "Oh, it got good again," and then 2 episodes later, she's like, "This is the worst thing."
Yep.
And to be fair, I felt pretty similar that way because after the hiatus, I thought that Volume 8 did improve considerably. And then we got to Ambrosius and it all fell apart.
I think Twins actually went over this. Like after the hiatus, animation quality kind of dropped.
Yeah.
It was like, and they were talking about the snowstorm, and I was like, when did that have to do with anything? Like I live in Texas. I was in that snowstorm. I lost power in my house.
Yeah.
It's just like, um,
Yeah, I don't see
and
how that would
everybody was
affect.
going on about like we need the safety of our employees and blah blah blah. Like we're quarantined, so we weren't really leaving our house.
So I'm not going to go over the decision they made there. I am going to say that I don't think that delaying by a week should have had any effect on the animation quality. If they were still animating episodes that late into development, it really speaks to the problems they have with the production.
Like you got a bigger problem than just that.
Yeah. If they delayed the episode because they were having some issues with their employees and concerned about their safety, I'm saying, yeah, fine, prioritize that. I don't think anyone really blames them for delaying a week because of unexpected weather. They probably have a lot more issues with the hiatus of 6 weeks and the various conspiracy theories about whether or not that was designed to prolong first memberships.
That was my brother's theory.
Yeah. And going back to Twins, and she was savaging the volume because, frankly, that it was merited. There were problems that she had with it that I understood and related to. And Critter still was relatively positive in her Volume 8 follow up podcast. She was just very critical of the ending, which is pretty much how I felt about Volume 6. That I felt that it was a good volume for the most part and then just suffered in its second and third act. And Volume 8 was a bit less consistent, but its ending was very weak compared to Volume 7. And as a result, I didn't feel it was as good as its predecessor.
Hmm. One of the one of the more hilarious parts of that podcast was Twins, where she's like, "This is not the worst volume of Ruby that I've ever seen. This is the worst thing I've ever seen." And then she talks about this movie called Powder.
Yeah.
And me and my brother, as soon as we heard that, we were like, "What's this?" We looked up the trailer, and as soon as it was done, we were both like, "That was the longest 3 minutes of my life. I will never get back. Holy shit!" And
Curiosity could lead you to
apparently,
some dangerous places.
yeah. And we thought that was hilarious. How she worded it, just like this is the worst thing she's ever seen. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And that just shows you how an ending can ruin a very positive beginning. That happened to me and Helsing Ultimate, like, or not Helsing Ultimate, the abridged from Team Four Star.
Yeah.
Like their last episodes made me hate the entire series because of how they just fucked it up. And it's the same here as, or like, I'm pretty sure Twins didn't like it throughout. Like Critter was very positive, and then the ending messed everything all up.
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair response to it. I think that it also makes good contrast on their podcasts with the two of them when they argue, because it is also very entertaining when they argue. I did a timestamp video for Critter's first Twitter design or character design video, and one of my favorite sequences is when Twin says, "My opinions are the opposite of you," and Critter of course, has a delightfully over the top reaction. "What? We can't be friends anymore, my sister."
Yep. That. Well, that's how you know they're really sisters.
Yeah.
But,
and I really do hope that Twins still participates in Ruby related podcasts, just because even if she's no longer watching the show, she does have a lot of opinions on Ruby that I think that would make for a good contrast. I mean, like, I watched her recent video on Critter's channel on Yokai Watch, and I don't know anything about Yokai Watch, but I thought it was very entertaining just the same.
The Magical Girls?
No. She actually Critter quizzed Twins on Yokai Watch, which apparently she was a fan of. Huh. Twins didn't watch the cartoon very much, but knew enough about mythology to have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Or just her reactions, like, so like I said, my brother had given up on the show, and then I would basically summarize it for him and tell him about it, and just like his reactions, like his eye rolling, his sighs, and he's just like, they did that? Like, according to my brother, there are only 3 volumes of Ruby. There's nothing else.
I really don't blame anyone if they stop after volume 3. If they get like the Beacon Steel book and call it there. Mm-hmm. Or because like even ancillary media tends to focus only on the Beacon arc. Even things like Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle just use those original outfits, which are, to be fair, very iconic compared to what came after. And that's another thing I like about Twins is that she does go back and look at the origins of Ruby. Like she did a good video on Dead Fantasy and pointed out some of the areas that Monty incorporated into Ruby.
And crap. I totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Oh well.
I think the point is that once again the negative tends to be a longer video than the positive, but I mean, really, what I would recommend to anyone right now is to go and check out her channel and watch some of her videos if one of the titles interests you. She's very insightful. She's fun. She's entertaining, and she still tells you something that you probably didn't know about the show or the character. So you could learn more about Ruby. I say this to anyone who is a diehard fan of Ruby, that if you've heard about her and the controversy surrounding her, you really should take the time to watch one of her videos if the title or the topic interests you. Because even if you disagree with her, I think you will have a good time watching it.
And please don't add to the pile.
Oh, no, of course not.
And even if she's off the Ruby train, just don't add to it. Like, I understand, like, some of what she said can sound a little harsh, but it's what we've been saying. We don't want to hate this show. We want it to improve, but they're doing nothing to improve. If that makes any sense. Like, there is one video of hers where she says that they're not listening to people being kind, so maybe they'll listen to people being mean. Which, like I said, I know it will sound harsh, but if you actually listen to what she says and think about it, I think you'll agree with it.
And I don't think she's being mean at all. I mean, like, it's not like her video titles are about how terrible Rooster Teeth is. She's always focused on the character and the show and the plot. She's saying, "Oh no, people are getting pissy," or "that dumb statue." She's never attacking Kruby.
Right.
She's always attacking the content.
Yes. It's never. It's not like me, where I
Yeah,
will like go on rants about the company or about Miles or Carrie or anything. No, it's just the show. It's never personal. It's business. It's not personal.
but that said, she's basically done making videos about Ruby for her channel. The ones that she has made are still up, and I would recommend anyone who has an interest in the show, the lore, the world, to go ahead and check it out. I think we're going to leave her channel link in the description of the video. Just
I'll leave the link to her reviews or
yeah. So peruse what she's created. Give it a look. I I highly recommend her video on who's actually the protagonist, on motivation, on fights, on the 2015 Shiromiwa manga, on the lesser known fairy tale origins, and on her two top 10 and best and worst design videos. Not only for her personal thoughts on the matter, but also for what I think are some very valid comments on those designs, where they work and why they don't. Just in general, I think that her decision to make videos about things besides Ruby is a net loss for the fandom. I feel like she added a lot, and really, I hope that she's happier without. I hope that she's doing well without, because I'm going to miss her.
and if and I'm not saying she should, but if she does decide to return, like maybe when the series has completed, let's try to welcome her, I guess, with open arms. Because I know I will.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still subscribed to her. I'm still going to watch her videos. I'm not sure that I'm going to watch everything, the same way I don't watch all of Critter's videos, but I definitely like her content and wants her to continue and want her to be successful.
Right. And once again, before we wrap, once again, as a reinforcement, don't add to the pile. Don't be that guy.
Just check out her videos if you're so inclined. And, like and subscribe, as they say.
Yes.